Let me see. Bring it in. Anybody have food in their teeth? No? Okay.
You look good.
Okay. You look good. How you feeling about this episode? So we're going to jump right in. What I thought was hilarious is towards the very end of last time we talked about it, I was like, we both said, wouldn't it be great maybe if Anise and Nate went out? I screamed when that happened. I was like, I thought, because we immediately knew, like, she's done with George. And we know she's done with George because she quotes TLC, no scrubs.
Yes.
It was very, very poignant and correct.
Yes. I love that.
Yes.
Yep. I keep liking her more and more. I think she's great. I love her.
Same. And but when she goes on this date, well, first of all, we didn't know what was happening. Nate was getting ready for another date. He's got his little box of pocket squares that's like his box of chocolates. Got to choose the perfect one. Then Anise is like, I'm going to put on a sexy ass jumpsuit. And her daughter is like, well,
great.
Did she tits the Supremes?
I think so. Yes, she did. And what she made a comment about her tits and ass, right?
Her daughter did. Her daughter's like, oh, you got the gold bell, the tits, and the ass, basically. She was like, don't talk about my Supremes.
Yes. 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 I thought that was hilarious. I loved that. I loved her recounting her date with George to her daughter and her talking about the blonde wig and her daughter just like, next. It's like, yeah, absolutely. Very wise. And she was like, my Uber's here. She left that date. I mean, she didn't just completely walk out, but she handled it really great.
Yes, and George did one thing at the end. You know, he's such he was a terrible date, but at the end he actually walked her out to the car, which was nice, and opened the door for her. I don't know, 1 point,
but or was hoping he was gonna get a little something because he said, "I liked watching you walk out." Yeah, no, like George.
No, like George. So should we jump in and talk about their date? I want to talk really quickly about, like, we go to Nate's house, right? So Anise gets dressed and she leaves, and we don't know where she's going. Like, we don't have a date. They sort of cut to Nate. Jackie comes over to debrief about the date, and I mean about the date that he had with Latricia, and she seems genuinely interested in what he and Latricia talked about. Tell me everything, right?
She wanted the details. And again, he's a little buttoned up. I thought that was a great note that Logan gave him, is to say something vulnerable. And he did when he mentioned his disability to Anise. I thought her response was so great. She showed him so much empathy and compassion when he talked to her about his injury and his disability. And she was, oh, you mean people write you off because, you know, they hear you can't be physically active in that way, like how you all write each other off for like these really inane little like list of things. She was really great. She handled it so well.
I wasn't sure that she was going to handle it well, because when she said, I like to go hiking and I'm kind of outdoorsy, I thought this is going to be this is going to be the thing, right? How's that tequila? This is going to be the thing that she says, I'm not going to go out with him again. She walks 8 miles a day, 5 days a week. I don't know where she's getting this time to walk 8 miles a day. She's a job. She's got a daughter. She has a lot of stuff to do, but that did not seem to deter her. I thought when Jackie was quizzing him, she wants all the details that an interested ex, I feel like, would want. She goes, what did you talk about? This is the date with Latricia. Nate said he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember at all. But one of the things that he did say in his confessional, that he is a sometimey Christian. Did you catch that?
Oh, no, I missed that.
Yeah, he said he's a sometimey Christian, and he's what he calls a CNE Christian, Christmas, New Year's, Easter.
So I heard that part. Yeah.
But this is a man who went on a blind date with somebody, took her hand and prayed before a meal, and then says he's just a sometimey. What?
Yeah. And his idea was to pray. That wasn't hers.
Did he tell Jackie that? No, I don't remember. Did he tell her that they... that they.
Oh, he might have. He did bring up the religion thing to her. And he might have said, oh, that she was checking boxes and when he mentioned praying, but he didn't want to spend every weekend in church. I'm pretty sure that was the conversation he had with her. It wasn't the confessional. I think he said that to her, right?
Yeah, he did, because I remember that. Yeah, he says this to her. He says, I pray before every meal. I think that's what he said to her. He prays before every meal, but he judges this woman for going to church. I thought that was not fair at all.
And did she even say she went to church every Sunday? I think
He did not.
No, unless, again, they edited that out. He was making a lot of assumptions. And again, I say, well, that's why you're single and for so long, because they seem to be writing each other off for such minute little things. Now, not everybody. We'll get to that date later.
Well, did you notice the way Latricia, I remember, was like checking boxes? One of the things that he air checked was never been married.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a double standard, because he was married before, right? For 16 years.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, she's 60 and he wants somebody who's never been married. Like, where are you going to find that person? The convent?
It's just asking for, I think it kind of sounds like also that he wants somebody young is what it sounds like to me. And that doesn't sit well with me really at all. So I don't know, Nate, I was really psyched about when I first saw him, because I thought he seemed like somebody who needed to get out there. But now I'm kind of wondering if he's going to find somebody, if his expectations are too high, if he really doesn't want to be dating women that are older than him.
He seemed a little thrown by her age. When she said his age for a second, I thought he's out. And I was like, dude, she's not that much older than you. It's not like that big of a huge age difference, especially at that age. And so when she said his age, I was like, oh, he's already checked out. He's gone. But then then I felt like it turned around. And I felt like a lot of that was because she showed him so much empathy and compassion when he talked about it, that it kind of opened him up and made him a little softer with her and let his walls down a little bit. But then him saying he's a homebody, and then he covered that really well with her by saying, well, yes, but if I was with somebody with you, I'd want to go with you everywhere. And he covered himself in that way and said that. But I think that stuck with her a little bit of, yeah, that's not me. That's not my lifestyle. I'm not a homebody.
What he said to her exactly was, if I had a woman that looked like you, I wouldn't let her out of the house alone.
Yes.
Which isn't the same thing as, I would like to go support you when you want to go out. I just want to spend time with you. I don't want you to go out because I don't want another man to snag you. There was like a little jealous streak in there, which I just thought was such a bizarre way to phrase it. And oh my God, Sin, did you notice what they ordered? They ordered wings on a first date. She was like, just sucking on that bone. And I just thought they're going to have shit in their teeth. Is nobody self-conscious about this stuff? Would you order, what would be your ideal first blind date food?
Okay. I don't know. Maybe not a salad.
No salad.
I'm not that person. I don't know. I guess something that wouldn't be too messy and garlicky, just in case there was a kiss. But I don't know. What about you?
Penne pomodoro. I don't know. Because you can pick it up with a fork. You put the whole thing in your mouth. There's no biting off of anything. Peter and I, we went on our first date. We went to Toast in LA. I had an omelet because I'm not a monster. And I just took, you can cut an omelet and put a bite in your mouth. Peter had a turkey sandwich that was on like focaccia. It was like dripping out the other side. He like mayonnaise on the side of his face. What did I say? Oh, a sandwich. He's defending himself. There's no defense. You cannot eat a sandwich on a first date. You can't. It has to be a bite-sized bit of something.
You ended up marrying him.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he was second, third choice. No, just kidding.
Joe.
Yeah, so
Chris and I, what did we do? We met at Luke at the bar, and then I think one of our first food dates was, I think we saw a movie and we might have done Dupars at the Grove.
That is a very Chris and Cynthia thing to do.
Right? It might have been that. And then we did go to Korean barbecue, like really early on too.
Oh, that's like a gastrointestinal disaster.
Not then. I was younger then. I could handle it then.
Fair. Totally fair. So I want to touch on this conversation about being a homebody, because we've talked about them, meaning all of the dating cast, breaking it off with someone for really stupid reasons. But actually, if someone is a real homebody, meaning they really don't want to go anywhere on a Saturday night, and she really does, and she's a 62, I almost understood that to be a reason not to settle. And was his reason, so I want to know what you want to think about that, but remind me, was his reason that she was just older than he wanted her to be? What was his reason for not wanting to go out with her?
He mentioned that, but did he say he didn't want to go out with her again? I think, oh, yes, he did. And I think it was her age.
Yeah, I think so.
Stupid. He's 56. She's 62, 6 years older. And you're going to write her off for that? And this guy for the homebody thing, I can understand that. That's a big change. You don't have to have all the same interests, but you want somebody who's going to want to get up and go with you.
It's not like when I look at his house, I'm like, oh, there's a house I really want to sit in, and it seems comfy, cozy to enjoy on a, he doesn't have a coffee table. I woke up thinking about that in the middle of the night. I was like, what is 3 couches, no coffee table? I still can't get over it. You don't want to relax at his house. Now, her house was really cozy, so maybe if he was willing to go over there, but I thought as they were vibing, just like you said, they were really getting along. They seemed to be both empathizing with each other, her definitely with him.
But not as flirty, not as much chemistry, kind of.
But she doesn't seem to I don't peg her for liking the flirty type, unlike Suzanne, who seems to want a real flirt. What I liked about Nate is that he was impressed with her education and said that's actually something that I want in a woman, and that immediately put her at ease. So I thought, this is a match made in heaven. I really did.
And it's a different reality show, such as Married at First Sight. Hello. When they have the 3 therapists, they would have pointed that out to them, right? They would call them out on their stuff even more. Like, hey, give this another opportunity, blah, blah, blah. But in that situation that they're in, everyone seems to be a little bit more like, next. And again, I understand, George, obviously, and the home body, that makes sense. But age and not voting for the right football team, ridiculous.
It's totally ridiculous. One of the things that I did notice, so Logan, the dating coach, calls Nate, asks him how it goes, then calls Anise, asks her how it goes. And I thought, oh my God, Logan is like this friend. She's the friend in the friend group who holds everyone's secrets. Like, she's the linchpin of this. And I just want you to know that I don't, that is not a job for me. I didn't want to be that friend. What I would have said to Anise is, oh, girl, he does not want to date you because you're too old. And I would have said to Nate, you need to get out the house. Like, I just would have said, I wouldn't be able to hold their secrets in, but she did it. She really, she didn't say anything to the other about what the other one thought.
Right.
Go, Logan.
Go, Logan. What Logan?
So that, I'm sorry to say, is probably the end of Nate and Anise. Should we move on to Suzanne? Yeah. I want to say Pam for the last because, Jesus. We are back with our good friend and curtain tassel enthusiast, Suzanne. Now, this time she did not wear the curtain tassel around her neck. She just wore it all over her whole dress.
Yeah. And those shoes. Come on. The French manicure on her toes. I can't get behind that on anybody. I cannot.
It's not great.
It's ridiculous. No. And put a ring on the toe and sorry. I can't. No.
Am I to understand you're not a fan of the toe ring?
Maybe if you'd have a French manicure, but the French manicure and then you throw a toe ring on it. No.
Overkill?
Oh, so bad. So bad. Right. I don't know what it is. It just kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Well, Suzanne loves butts. Does that give you the heebie-jeebies? You know how they keep putting on, she said the first episode, I love butts. And then they keep showing this huge butted pottery thing or swing, which is like their device to edit. And I don't hate it, but I just think it's something funny about Suzanne. She loves a butt.
Okay. Do you know what I know? Okay. So I'm going to cut to the date for a second.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
Because it's at the very, very, very beginning. She walks in. I don't know. They have a word or two. And he says something like, how are you? She said, thirsty. Code for, get me a glass of wine and now. And I was like, oh, yeah, she likes to get her drink on.
Yeah, she's a lush. Like I said last episode, I'm totally mad respect for her for putting it out there and being a lush. I have something else to say. I have a lot to talk about. Not a lot, a little to talk about with the drinks.
She gets the red wine with the ice cubes.
Yes. I took a screenshot of it for our audience. I am not one of those wine jerks that's going to say you shouldn't put ice cubes in your wine.
Mm-hmm.
But I might be one of those wine jerks that says you shouldn't put ice cubes in your wine. Red wine. And what do you think? She was drinking Argentinian Malbec, and the camera actually did like a zoom in on it. It was like, whoa.
Because I think they even knew that was like, no.
Even the producers were like, what is she doing? It was her probably third or fourth beverage. So maybe that was her way of rehydrating herself, was to put ice cubes in her wine.
And I was wondering, is her daughter her designated driver?
She is, because she says, when she walked in, she said, my mother does not like to drive at night.
Well, yeah, because she's had a few, she's thrown back. So,
yeah.
No, I mean,
I was thinking it was because she was older. No, because she's drunk every night.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Avery brings her roses, right? Yellow roses this time.
Yes.
Right. Is that right?
No, he did not bring her flowers. Avery did not bring her flowers. Wait, did you say Nate brought Anissa flowers?
Nate brought Anise roses.
Wait, Anissa flowers, but Avery did not bring Suzanne flowers. And she, in her confessional part, said, where are my flowers? So,
can't she go to the florist? What is wrong with this woman that she can't buy her own flowers? You don't go on dates to get your flowers.
No. And then also she was saying he was kind of mysterious because he wasn't being straightforward or answering her questions. And she definitely had more chemistry, in my opinion, with the other guy. Frank, right?
Frank?
Yeah. But this guy, they, to me, didn't have as much chemistry together. I mean, they ended up talking and drinking, and his face when he asked her if he could have her phone number, and she said, well, I can't tell you that now. And he just seemed so annoyed by that. And I thought, oh, they're done. That's it. But then he still wanted to go out with her. So that's good. He didn't write her off for it, but I didn't like them together.
No, they weren't my favorite. She felt like they had more chemistry maybe than she had with Frank.
Yeah.
There was something about Avery that kind of struck me. You know, he said, she asked him something about college, and he said that he was an English major, which I was, and that just means he didn't know what to major in. So the last minute he was like, you know, English. And then now he's in finance. And this leads Suzanne to conclude about him that he's mysterious.
Right.
Did you know, oh, he majored in English, but he's actually in finance? What a mystery.
Right.
Anyone that's going to college? Does anybody, I mean, unless you're a biomedical engineer, are you ending up in anything that you've done? So that was a funny conclusion for her to draw, and it might have just been the wine.
Yeah. No, totally. I thought they seemed odd together. I was really surprised that they both were excited to go out with each other again.
Well, they've got a major problem. She is Atlanta Bulldogs fan, right? And then not. I'm from Georgia, right? So I know this, even though I don't know anything about sports. He's an Alabama fan because when he left, he said, roll tide.
Yeah.
Hate it when people from Alabama that say that. Roll tide. And it's like, I'm not into football. Don't say that to me. But he said it to her to kind of needle her a little bit. But there is a really big rivalry between Alabama and Georgia State University. And I think that is going to stop them from really being able to move forward. How are they going to go tailgating? How are they going to resolve this problem?
I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to have their glass of wine and be fighting in the parking lot.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't really like him. I was like, yeah. And I mean, he wasn't being direct. He wasn't really answering the questions. And I wasn't loving him. And I mean, I'm sure he might be a fine fellow, but definitely would have been somebody I would be excited about. That's for sure.
They do have two things in common. He also likes Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
And Texas.
Who doesn't love Texas? I'm like, right here.
Look, I got no beef with Texas.
During the show. Right here.
I got no beef with Texas. Well, maybe I got all kinds of beef with Texas.
Beef, but I'm not somebody who walks around saying, boy, do I love Texas.
Avery maybe seemed a little less conscious of the cameras, and maybe like Frank seemed like, I mean, maybe he was yucking it up a little bit, or maybe that's just who he is. I know you didn't like them together. I thought maybe Avery was a little bit more subdued and she's a little bit more over the top. So maybe this is a good match and that they're not the same. Whereas Frank was a little OTT and she was a little OTT.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see if they go out again. But to your point, Suzanne and her daughter call Logan, the dating coach. And Suzanne says, I think you said this earlier, he asked me for my number. And I told him, I can't give you that. I can't tell you that right now. And Logan says this genius line. Logan says, Suzanne wants to keep them guessing. She's dating from an outdated rule book. She thinks she needs to play hard to get. My feeling is like, you cannot play hard to get anymore because someone's just going to swipe right on somebody else. Like, you have to lay it out there now.
Is that true?
I don't know.
I haven't dated since at least a year.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, but I found that when she said that, I thought, oh yeah, but then I thought, well, I wonder if that is true. I wonder if it is. And when she says that, is that necessarily applied to all generations? You know, it was interesting. But yes, that definitely something I noted down because I was like, I wonder if it has.
You know, when we were dating back in, let's say 2003, right? 2003? We would have both been dating then. I had not met Peter. You were with Chris. Yeah, I was sowing some oats. I met this guy out at the Dime and he asked for my phone number. Do you remember this? And I told him the only way he could get it was if he called the restaurant and got it from you. I said, my best friend works at the restaurant. Here's the number for AOC. You have to call and get it from her and I'll tell her that you're going to call. Because that book, He's Just Not That Into You, had come out. And one of the lessons was make sure he's really into you. He has to work to get your phone number. And I think that is so wrong now. I mean, my life could have been very different if I could have been married to this other guy.
Yeah, but you know what? At the same time, maybe men have grown and changed a little bit from that as well. I do think that, that the date I shared with the weirdo guy last podcast he definitely did some work to go out with me and that didn't pan out. So,
what was stalking? That is not showing interest.
I listened to friends. They're like, it could be, you're a husband. I'm like, or you could be a stalker. I mean, I don't know. But I think men have also changed. And there is some truth. Like, if a guy is really into you, then he is. With Peter, right? Like, there was no games with my husband. I'm going to call you tomorrow night. He called me tomorrow night. Like, there was no, like, wondering if he was going to follow up or call or whatever.
I would not play hard to get if, Peter died tomorrow or we got divorced and I had to keep talking about these things. I would just say I want to go on another date or I don't want to go on another date. I would not mess around. There's no time for that. Yeah. One of the things that I thought was really great was Avery was doing his confessional and they said to him, she wants your number. Is it okay if we give Suzanne your number? And he was so psyched. But what I loved hearing, we know that this is a very produced show. I just loved hearing from the producers. I loved hearing their voices. I loved hearing the other side of the camera and knowing like what we said last time when Frank said, oh, damn, I forgot to get her number. Like, well, there's 12 people who have it. So ask for it, right?
Right.
I did like hearing from them.
Yes. Yeah, no, I like that. It kind of gives you another level of the show and what's happening and all of that too. But anyways, so maybe that book is a little dated, but I feel like there's still a little bit of truth in it. And maybe it's not so much playing games, but it shouldn't be so much work either, like the right person. It shouldn't be
agreed,
right? It shouldn't be, the whole mysterious thing is usually someone who's just not available.
You mean someone who's majored in English but was now in finance? Okay. Just checking what your definition of mysterious is.
Yeah, well, I think it's when she asked him a couple of questions and he wouldn't really give her a straight answer. She didn't seem to be turned off by it. She was more like, oh, he's mysterious.
Okay. I'm gonna go back and watch that.
Yeah.
Just to close this chapter with Suzanne and Avery, do you think they're going to go out again?
I'm not sure she's not going to go out with Frank again. I think she still might. But yeah, I think she's enjoying herself and having fun with it, which is great. And so I think they will. I do. I just don't see it though. But I think, who knows?
Who knows?
Okay.
We are moving on to Pam. Pam, one of the first things we find out about her, she was ostensibly catfished by Val Kilmer.
Yes.
Pam also sounds slightly drunk in just her regular speech. So
and she had a few Marlboros. I mean, her just, yeah.
I was wondering that. Do you think she's still smoking?
Well, she's not. She did a lot of damage because she definitely sounds like someone who was smoking a couple packs a day.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
she was a pretty hottie model back in the day. Shared a whole picture with her wearing feathers and some shit in one of those photos. And also, she's had custody of her granddaughter since her granddaughter's name is Zoe, was in 5th grade. I mean, there is a story there.
like in the beginning, I thought, she's interesting and she's been through so much. And so I thought, this is going to be interesting. I mean, she was not dressed well. She was not dressed how I imagined she would dress. She dressed like her age. She looked old the way she dressed, which I was really surprised by. I mean, compared to Anise or even Suzanne, she's got these pants that are a little too short and these sandals that look like an 80-year-old would wear. And I was really surprised.
Orthopedic?
Yeah, they look like orthopedic, kind of open toe. I was like, what is she wearing? But I thought, wow, she's like a very interesting person. And then she got on that date.
Well, wait, can I ask you something before the date?
Yeah.
She was married to this rock star. She kept referring to him as Steve.
Right.
And then we find out that his name was Steve Marriott. We also know that she knew John Lennon and she has a signed Beatles picture from Paul McCartney's wife. She was maybe a groupie back in the day, like a model groupie.
I mean, she was married to him. It sounds like she was young and gave up, just said, fuck it and traveled with him and just had her life with him. It sounds like she was very happy. But, oh God, date. Like,
The date was really bad. Well, I knew it wasn't going to go well when she was carrying a bird around on a broom in her house. I thought, I wonder how she's going to get along with the outside world when you're walking around your house with a bird on a broom.
Would a guy who has a parrot be a deal breaker for you?
Yes. Yes. First, you have to clean your cage all the time. And those birds live forever. What happens if he dies? They live to like 150 years old. What if he dies? Is that my responsibility? No, there's no bird. Why? You have a turtle. That turtle's going to outlive you.
My son has has a turtle. So he'll take that or we'll find another home for it. But I'm not that would be a deal breaker. I think I did go out with a guy once who had a bird. And escaped and was devastated and I felt horrible for him. But I went on one date with him. It was kind of a date. And
you mean you gave him a blowjob?
We had no, there was no beach
date. It was a date in 2003.
Yeah, it was whatever. There's no. But he had a bird and it escaped and he loved this bird. So I felt bad for him, but I would not want to date somebody on a regular basis that had a parrot that talked. That would be really fucking annoying. And they're loud. My parents, they had these parakeets, and whenever I'd go over there, I would take them and put them in the other room. So, yeah, the whole bird thing. But oh my God, that date.
She did not have a Pottery Barn house then. I thought about you.
At all. It sounds like she's been already secluded for a while. Okay. But then she showed up and that guy, I was like, okay, well, first of all, why would you pair that guy with Pam?
What was your initial impression of him?
I mean, I'm sure he's like a nice guy, but really ill-matched. I mean, he looks like a CPA kind of corporate. Just like, why would you put those two together? That does not even make sense to me that they would have paired those two together.
Well, I'm thinking Logan paired Pam with Robert because...
Does Logan actually pair them? Or does she just kind of talk them through?
It's the producers. No, but...
Yeah.
Pam made a comment back at the Cost Plus World Market meets Goodwill home that she had not talked to a man with teeth in a long time. So I think the criteria was pretty low. I think it was pretty entry level, rudimentary. Does he have teeth? Yeah. Robert, check.
Yeah. I think was she joking about that or was she serious?
I don't know. But at the end there, when she was talking to Logan, sorry to go back to her house, but so much happened there.
Yeah.
Did you see what was going on in that woman's glass? Like I already was thrown way by the ice and the red wine.
Right.
Pam was sitting there with a wine glass that had some very cloudy beverage. And at first I thought it was kombucha. And do you remember what she said it was at the end?
No.
Mimosa.
Did you?
Yes, they're just following us around this episode. These two episodes. Mimosas here, mimosas there. I thought we were getting rid of mimosas.
Are the producers just plying them with mimosas? What the hell?
It looked like a mimosa where the orange juice was really old or not fresh. It was brown. It was cloudy. It wasn't very good.
It was Tropicana.
Well, oh, yeah, Tropicana.
Yeah.
This one was kind of funny and quirky. And she said she was a flight attendant. We come to find out later that she was on private charters for NetJets, but we'll get to that in a second. And I wanted to be friends. And then I thought I wouldn't.
Yeah. And then she got there and she started talking on the date. It was like, whoa. I mean, I actually felt bad for him because
I felt bad for him.
Yeah. I mean, that was just the negativity, the narcissistic, really. Try not to throw that term around, but seems applicable. And then I thought it was great that he called her out at the end. She didn't listen to anything that he said. She cut him off constantly. It was painful. I think it was worse than Anise and George's date to watch.
100 times worse than that to watch. Robert was trying. He gets in there. I'm doing sounds. Tell me about you. And then Pam immediately turns into Eeyore. Like she's got a cloud following her around that's raining, TikToks and Star Wars sequels and warm caviar. It was kind of like,
but she didn't seem so much like that with the way her granddaughter talks about her and the way she was with Logan and stuff. It just felt like it came unleashed there, and it's like, was that her nerves? It was that her just thinking she was being funny and entertaining, and that's how she, thinks that she'll, get someone to like her. But it was, God, actually, I felt bad for him. And then at the very end, when he calls her out for it, the way they cut that camera, the way she was giving him the massive stink eye, that was like, ooh.
So Pam was laughing a little bit, but she was unfortunately just laughing at her own jokes. She was telling a joke. She was saying, if I have to serve warm caviar to another asshole again, I'll kill myself. And then she would die laughing. And he said, oh, that's, it's interesting. That's so interesting. Now, Robert, by looking at him, he was going to be a real stick in the mud. But I think he was a pretty thoughtful person, right? He was really trying to engage. And just as you said, he got the short end of the stick.
Yes.
Not only on this date, but on every single one of these dates we've seen so far. This is the worst.
Yes. She was by far, she needs a lot of coaching.
Logan needs to do some overtime.
Logan is going to work for her money with that one. I mean, that was possibly worse than George. George was really offensive, misogynistic, right? But she was just cringy. That was, train wreck.
Train wreck. My thing with Robert is at the end, he got a little passive aggressive with her. He said, you don't know anything about me. You haven't even asked me one question about myself. Maybe, stop just guessing what sign I am. If you knew something about me, maybe that would show you who I am. It went from 0 to 60. And I thought, oh, that was a red flag to me, to that guy. I thought, I don't want to be on it. I don't want to have an argument with this guy.
Aggressive, right? I mean, he got a little, but then you think, okay, so I agree with that. I thought that too, but there was part of me is like, well, do you really have to call someone out to that level? Can you just say, okay, well, you haven't really asked me anything about myself. But then who knows how long that date actually was and they were filming for? Was it really right? So that could have been, and she seemed to be a little, I think she was drinking, right? I mean, obviously she was, but who knows how much she had to drink. And that could have been 3 hours or 2. And he might have dropped other hints that weren't in there. So that's the thing that you don't know. I mean, I doubt, I'm sure it was more than what we saw. So he might have just hit his wall with it. But.
Well, I didn't hit my wall with it. I thought she sounded conspiratorial. She sounded just like such a drag. Oh, we don't like sequels to Star Wars. I mean, I don't want that either. TikTok's ruining the world. No one's creative anymore.
And it was just negative, and very involved. She didn't ask him any questions. Everything she said was really negative. Yes, right now, everything feels crazy. But at the same time, that was her focus. That was the place that she was coming from the entire time. And that's a lot. And that's with someone, she doesn't even know him. Like you feel like if you're going to get to know somebody, you put your best foot forward and you're kind of on your best behavior. At least they say it really takes 2 years to get to know somebody when you really see them for who they are. Yeah. The polite behavior is there around usually for the first 2 years.
Oh yeah. My marriage, that's been gone a long time.
Well, yeah, but they said, don't get married if you haven't been together for 2 years, because you really don't know somebody until after a year or two. So that's what she's putting out there. Like, as soon as she meets somebody, like, what's in store later? Or is that her defense mechanism? Actually, I felt for her because I was like, wow, that's a shitty place to be.
She said no men had come into her house and her bedroom. I mean, have been 12 years or something. It's been a really, really long time. She's not dated. And so, yeah, I guess I felt a little badly for her. What I hope, this is what would be horrifying to me. And I would think about this with The Bachelor. You go back and you watch yourself on this show and you think, God, that's me. And that's we see it on The Bachelor all the time when people have to get into the hot seat and apologize for their behavior and say, I didn't know I acted that way. I didn't know that's who I was. And when you find out who you are, who you really are, that's woof.
Yeah. And yes, there is some editing for sure. Right? There is some applying of alcohol. There is some editing. You do have producers whispering stuff in your ears when you're off camera. They are trying to manipulate the story. They are saying, hey, do you know that this person said this about you off camera? So then they get on to do that person's interview or confessional. Like, there's definitely some manipulation. But at the same time, people are who they are. And I think parts of yourself that you might not like are going to show. For her, like the way her granddaughter spoke of her and what she did for her granddaughter, and it seems like she was very much in love with her husband, both of them. Well, no, the first one, she divorced? She divorced the first one.
He died. It's both the husband died. One unexpectedly, I think the other of cancer over 6 weeks or something.
She said he fell asleep in bed with a cigarette or something, right?
Right, and he burned the house down and died.
Yes, I think that was the rock star. And then the other one of cancer. And that's why I was saying some of it is her defense mechanism, because then she's like, you want to go out with me still? So I was like, that was her defense, right? The way she make it a joke and make light of it, because that's tragic. Maybe underneath all of that, she needs some therapy.
Yeah, she needs therapy. Do you have any predictions for, these people are not going out again, Robert and Pam.
Yeah.
But we think maybe Anise and Nate are not going out again, but possibly Suzanne, who we think might go out with Avery, and maybe even Frank. We don't know.
Yeah.
So to end our session, I have a question for you. If you were very wealthy and you flew private and you had a flight attendant like Pam, who seemed to have lots of problems with the warm, she had a real issue with the warm caviar. Is there something, assuming that you would be magnanimous and nice to every flight attendant who was there, is there one pet peeve, something a flight attendant could do if you were very wealthy and on a private jet that would really set you off? Or is there some service that they wouldn't offer? What would make you as a rich person be like, this is not what I paid for?
Oh. Huh. Let's see. Here always gets my goat if someone just doesn't apologize and acknowledge. So I think if someone just didn't say something like, yes, I'm sorry that the caviar is a little bit at room temp. Would you like something? Like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe I'm saying that. But, just acknowledge it. And they always teach you that in hospitality, right? Just acknowledge. And that goes a long way. It's not going to make me lose my shit on somebody, because that's wrong. But would it annoy me? Yeah, if somebody just say, I'm so sorry, it is a little room temp, would you like something else? Right? But I'm that rich and I'm on a private jet. I don't know. What could really set you off? Jesus Christ. Like, what about you?
If the plane were stocked with Meiomi Pinot Noir, I would lose my fucking shit. I would lose my shit and I would say, I want you to put this plane on the fucking ground right now. I'm out. That's it. That's all I'm asking. Please don't put Meiomi Pinot Noir on my plane.